All right, let's talk some options and some gamma levels. Market maker positions as the S&P's still hugging near that 5,600. Got Shane Skinner joining us this afternoon, manager of trader services at Charles Schwab. Shane, what's up? We got S&P's. It seems kind of like we're going round and round, just above 56 the last 5 days. Are we going to break free of this or what?
A lot of sideways chop into NVIDIA earnings specifically, it looks like. So, I don't call that a coincidence. It just looks like the market over the past couple of days has been sitting on its hands, a little bit up, a little bit down, sort of a sideways drift, like you said. I think we're waiting for NVIDIA earnings. And then, 2-3 weeks from now, we might see a rate cut. I think we're going to try to digest NVIDIA first, and then focus will move to rate cut and sort of if that's priced in or not.
Okay, so take us into the granular here because obviously, even though generally speaking we've been chop and range bound, we got the low of 55.60 last week and then the high 56.51 starting off the session yesterday. So is there a particular area here that we're getting glued to, or what would kind of constitute a break free of this range?
Yeah, so today's flip point, this major orange level here, 56.10 to 56.15, right? And I mean, look, when we broke above it earlier in the day, we came back up, tested it again. About an hour later on a bounce back down, it held, and now we're sort of, like we said, sticking to 56.30. 56.30 is going to have to give. If it does, we might see 56.50. That's a lot to ask for here in 27 minutes, still possible. But at this moment, it seems like they really don't want to see this thing flop below the flip point and simultaneously maybe stay right around this 30 level. So we might see some sideways into the close here and more action tomorrow and Thursday. Once NVIDIA does its thing, the index should move more.
So it seems like 56.30, basically, that section there, you're saying the most balanced, that's kind of where the market makers have their best day if we close somewhere within there?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about sort of the most balance between puts and calls, we're talking about there's the most sort of positioning on both sides there with respect to the net gamma. And it's basically just, it's sticky right there, right? And market makers love that. It's sort of a safe zone, if you will. That flip point below in the orange being a major level where if we were to drop below that, structure might shift significantly. We move net negative gamma, and then you tend to see potential meltdowns in those situations. So seems like they really wanted to avoid that today, kept it off that level, and now they're just hugging this 30 level. Looks like there's no intention to take it to 50 at this moment.
Okay. 56.50 Bing, it seems like the next stop on your chart, which is also the high from Monday. So I guess that's kind of the first thing we think about here is getting to the extremes of our range in the last 5 days before breaking. So 56.50 to the upside, 55.60. Do you see the same like put positioning as you do the call positioning at 55.60 compared to 56.50? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so down below at like the 55.50 range, there is going into the rest of the week. It looks like some action going on there right now. That 5,600 level is huge. That's where things really start to get hairy in terms of net negative territory. And so beyond that, the 80-85 level has had quite a bit of action there. So if you're a bear going into this week, you're really going to want to see this 5,600 level give, and then from there you might get some chop in the 80s, and then you're hoping this thing takes a nice slide down to 50. Bulls, you're hoping that 50 level breaks. Let's take this thing to all-time highs.
Okay, you've got a longer-term chart we're going to pull up here that goes for a couple days. This is this week so far. A lot on here, but that's what you were just describing, right? Is we're getting...
Yeah, this is, NVIDIA.
Okay,
Sorry,
so take me through it for NVIDIA.
This is NVIDIA.
No, I got it. Okay, so we got the S&Ps. Take me through NVIDIA.
So this is the difference being S&Ps is looking at 0 DTE open interest. NVIDIA is looking at Friday's expiration, right? That's the nearest one available. You got big earnings tomorrow. So this is the outlook as of the open interest this morning for Friday's expiration. You have a major flip point right down below there at 122.5 to 125. So if you're bearish you want that level to give. If you're hoping to see NVIDIA take a big pullback, that's what's got to come first. And then there's a major negative level to chew through at 120. Lots right there. If that gives, you're hoping, you see 110, 115 area hit, and then there's the potential for what we call expansion, where as market moves over a certain price, gamma over that price level picks up, things could get nasty at 110, 115 for this Friday's expiration. Upside, you really want to see 130 break. If you're an NVIDIA bull and you want this thing to continue on, 30 has to give. This is the largest concentration point. Sometimes we see this level stick on weekly expirations for earnings. So right now, sort of looking at it here, if you're bullish, you hope 130 sticks and holds at the least. And if not, you're headed up to 135. 140 looks even better than 35 in terms of the net amount of gamma. 40 is even stronger than 35. So blow through that might be possible.
So it seems like the level right above us would be pretty easy, 130, and then it seems like your view then would be that you've got even a stronger draw to go straight to 140 basically. Than just a little extra $5. So more likely, it sounds like we're probably in for a move, because unless the 120 holds, it seems like if the 120 holds, that's kind of your baseline expectation of just going down to test support, which I love that that's where all the gamma exposure is, because that's exactly where I got the line on my chart. Just from a technical perspective, because if you could draw like a bunch of head and shoulders and inverted stuff, and a lot of it has 120 there as an important level.
Right. It all comes back together. This gamma stuff and these other technicals, they sort of morph together. Another great example, the simple moving average for the 50-day, right at 120. So you have all of these different indicators pointing to that 120 level being, it is net gamma, but there's hopefully support there. We might touch that and then pull higher. Last NVIDIA earnings, we saw a big down move initially, sort of down into a similar structure that we see here. And then they pulled it right back up and sent it up to that hot spot where currently it looks like 140 is, where a good chunk of positive gamma was up above the flip point. So if you're looking to, trade this, these, nothing's the end all be all, but these are great levels to be aware of in terms of positioning and options at this moment.
It also kind of sounds like if you're really determined to be bullish in NVIDIA, then save some ammo for the possibility that we get to the 120, because that would be your firing point for another bullet, because there's likely to be support. Now, that's the one where you may want to get out of it if we get back up to 128 or something, but that at least isn't a place to think about firing again.
Right, exactly. That when you hit that flip point, the S&P showed it today. We bounced off that flip point twice today in the S&P. So that level sometimes can be one where every time it seems like we get down there and structure is about to shift, they keep it on the same side. And so if you're looking at NVIDIA here and you get down into that flip point or major net negative range and you're a bull, that might be a reasonable entry if they pull it back up. Now, like we said, depending on structure, depending on how down it goes, how quickly and how vol reacts, right? If we get down past 120, 115, 110 can start expanding, and that might act as a greater magnet than the 20, 25 level that we're looking at here. So it's one of these things, it's dynamic. We should be watching it every day. If this is something we're going to use, tomorrow's might look different than today's. So this is something we should, if you're going to use this stuff, keep on top of it. Don't, miss out on a day of adjustments. Positioning can change any given day.
Sure. Okay. Good stuff. I like it. Definitely seems like it's easier to be a bull in NVIDIA because there's some pretty clear levels to look for, multiple attempts. Whereas if you're bearish, you kind of just got to hit it on the earnings basically. Or then you could try and push it and press it if it gets through 120 and try, but then you're kind of selling into a sell-off. But to the point, if 120 breaks, and it could get pretty nasty. So really very helpful. Love the stock specifics. Yeah, real quick, last thought. It's just nasty. I was just going to say right? that 120, that 120 level is what we're eyeing. That's sort of your red alarm should be going off, and if that gives, let's look out below. All right, cool, good stuff. Thanks, Shane Skinner. Great work, manager of trader services at Charles Schwab.